Yeah, well, hello everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with the guitar. And they call me on the phone. They ask me, they say, hey man, what's your show about anyway? I say, it's about guitars, guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So basically, here's the thing, if you want to call me on the phone and ask me a question about the guitar, like a care and feeding of your guitar, what kind of guitar is right for you, how to play your guitar. You want to talk about some related topic like the guitarrón, the cithara, oud viola, banjos, balalaikas, bazooki, sitars. You want to talk about mandoras, mandolas, mandolins, mandocellos. If you want to talk about, banjos, balalaikas, bazookies, bajos, sextos, tiples, cavaquinhos, timples. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. I mean, timples and violas this week. Thinking about the way people play things in other countries. But anyway, check my Twitter feed. If you want to talk about saxophones or sack butts, trombones, trombomarinas, piccolos, pipe organs, ocarinas, accordions, clarinets, clavinets, clavinovas, clavichords. I want to talk about cornettos, cornholts, quartholts, crumhorns, timpanis, trumpets, flugelhorns, tubas or timbales, pianos what goes with pianos? I don't know. Anything musical is fun. You think anything goes with pianos?
Forte.
Oh, forte, yeah, but that's another. Pianos and pianoforte and forte pianos. There's a difference between pianoforte and forte piano.
I didn't know that. What's the difference?
I think something about how you think the thing hits the hammer, hits the thing. So the string, It's I've had it explained to me, and I say, oh, that's very interesting, and then I kind of moved on with my life. But
I'll research that.
Yeah. Pianoforte and forte piano. It's a difference. I think. I don't know, man. I've been around, I was just thinking about this. Somebody was. I haven't even finished my intro yet, but I mean, I'm starting to talk like an older fella, you see, because I'll remember something like I say, oh yeah, I did that one. Yeah, I did. I played that once. And I start thinking that was a really long time ago. Anyway, so if you want to call a question, if you want to call about world events, your own personality problems, or whatever, that's fine. We're here for you, but keep it clean. This is a family program. Okay. So I'm kind of tired today, and my thumb's been bothering me a little bit. So I decided to bring my. For some reason, this little Fender here. This is a Fender Stratocaster, but it's a Mexican-made Fender. It was made in Mexico, in Baja, down the coast from, the regular Fenders that are made in California. This is also another kind of California, but it's a Mexican part of California, down the Baja Peninsula. And so I took this one to work. I have this job I teach in a college. And I'm supposed to be a classical guitar teacher, but I actually don't have a single classical guitar student this semester. So I'm teaching like blues to, like a guy from Japan, young fellow from Japan. It's kind of fun. But anyway, so I took this with me because it's very easy to play for me. It's a very, very light, and it's got this very soft rosewood fingerboard, and it sounds pretty good. And so I figured, what the heck, because I was so lazy when I got home and I had to pack up for the show, I grabbed this Fender amp that's actually made in Mexico also. It's the Mexican-made, I'm not facing my microphone, this is a Mexican-made Frontman 25. It's actually I think a new one. This is actually quite a few years old, but a new one of these amps that I'm playing today would cost about $100. That's the street price. You can probably get that in a music shop or online, whatever. You get it for $100. Made in Mexico, and actually it's a pretty nice little amp. And this one's been around. I use it for teaching lessons. Let my student plug into it. I've had it for quite a few years. They look a little different now than they did in the old days, but they've changed the color of the grill and everything, but I mean, the other thing is this guitar and this amp are some years old. The amp might be 15 years old, maybe older. the guitar, I don't know how I got it used some time ago, and some years ago, when it was some years old. These things, they don't go stale. You know, like if you buy a car, I know you can get a really nice car and you can keep it shined up, but you know, your usual car is going to break down on you and fall apart after a certain number of years. I had a Plymouth Neon for 10 years, and that was a pretty long time, really, for a Neon. But a guitar, decently made guitar, they last a really long time. I mean, I don't know forever, but I mean, because someday we having trouble with the. Okay. Someday the sun's going to get really big and blow up, and it's going to destroy the Earth, and you know, in a few billion years, give or take, a billion. I don't know. I'm not too worried about it because I'll probably be. I'll probably be dead in several billion years. It doesn't matter how many vegetables I eat. Anyway. I decided some time ago that I didn't want to live my life without a Stratocaster, and then it gets worse than that. Though I don't want to live my life without a maple fingerboard and a rosewood fingerboard on a Stratocaster. I think I can live without ebony, because ebony is kind of a compromise between the two. But this is, of course, a rosewood fingerboard, and the thing I like about the Mexican Strats is that they're made with, as far as I know, they're made with the same choices of woods that they make the American ones with. Like in China and in Indonesia and other places, in Korea and in Japan, where I'm not sure if they built them in Korea, but they built them in Japan for a while, and they built them in, I've seen them made in India, which were probably the worst ones I've seen. But there's a $99.99 Stratocaster made in China, and I think it's made out of like particle board or something. I've taken the back off of them, and it doesn't look like it's real wood. Like, you know how you take like sawdust and from formaldehyde, and you press it into a shape and mold it into shape. I think that's what they're made out of. So it's nice you can get a Stratocaster for $99.99 in a choice of colors that you can't normally get, like this kind of purple color, kind of like the color your tongue turns when you've been eating grape Lifesavers. But anyway, seriously, I was in a pawn shop once. I saw one, and I was tempted to buy it just to have a purple Stratocaster made out of particle board or something, but I didn't do it. But getting back to it, though, I like the maple neck, which is very blonde. The neck is like this. Well, this is maple on the back, that's maple, right, with a stripe on it. The maple neck, of course, is the same wood. It doesn't have a fingerboard on it. It's just the same wood. So they're all maple necks, but this one has a rosewood fingerboard, so it has a thin piece of rosewood, glued on to the maple neck. Okay, that's the fingerboard. And the thing about the maple neck, the maple fingerboard, whatever it is, it's really hard. It's very dense wood. It's cold to the touch, actually. This is warm to the touch, as in it doesn't. I think there's a lot more air in the wood. It doesn't feel cold under my fingers. So it's softer, it's still a hard piece of wood, but it's much softer than the maple is. And it just feels different. The maple is rock maple. They call it rock maple. It's a very, very dense, hard maple. And I know my brother, when we were kids, he tried to build a cornetto, which is it's a wooden horn. It's like a Renaissance horn. It's kind of curved like this, and it has holes in it, but you blow on this little tiny mouthpiece like you blow on a trumpet. It's a cornetto. It's the ancestor of the cornet. But it's wooden. And he tried to make one out of maple, and got the hardest, densest rock maple. And that stuff is really hard to carve. It's like a rock. That's why they call it rock maple. That's what this neck is made out of. So if the fingerboard's made out of that, it feels different, and it even sounds different. This is softer. It's smooth. So anyway, so I guess what I'm babbling on about is I get these little pain in my thumb. I keep going on about that in the show. My little pain right there in my thumb. And when I was playing my gig the other night, it started to bother me, and it has been bothering me a little bit. But this guitar doesn't hurt at all. So my therapy for sore digits is just to play a very, very gentle guitar. And I believe that. If people are out there and you have like some sort of arthritis problem or some sort of like strain or something, don't stop playing your guitar. I'll play a Stratocaster or something. Something very, very, because these strings are really skinny. When I play my jazz guitars, I have really heavy-duty cables on them. Folk guitar, like acoustic guitars, I have very heavy, they're fairly heavy anyway, metal strings. And my classical guitar, I use the super hard tension nylon strings, which are pretty tough, But these are skinny little wires. And the action is low. You don't have to push them down very hard. You get to the fret. It sounds nice. So anyway, this is my affordable Mexican-made Fender products show. I think I still make them down there. These are older. Stuff like that. So,
Hecho in Mexico.
hecho en Mexico, yeah. Mexico. See? Yeah. Well, I know that people don't like Mexicans, but I've always just had a good time with people from Mexico. I've known so many Mexicans.
Oh, God. You know, when I was a kid and I saw the movie The Alamo, I thought the Mexican soldiers were the coolest.
Yeah.
Cooler. I mean, the Alamo guys were great too. But man, when those Mexicans attacked, adelante, a la carga. I thought they were the coolest guys.
I don't like movies like that because I don't really know who to root for. I mean, think about it. On one side, say we're gonna secede. We're gonna steal a big chunk of your country, for make it part of make it our country. And then people say, oh no, you're not.
Well, the Texans had already kind of seceded from Mexico.
Yeah.
But I was reading about that movie, and I believe this is to John Wayne's credit, who I think produced or directed the movie as well as being in it. There's a point. It's after the first Mexican attack where the Texans are up there and they're kind of making some complimentary remarks about how brave the Mexican soldiers were. I was kind of proud for them. They're just fighting for their wives and kids at home. And actually, I think that's attributed to John Wayne, that he felt like he should keep some kind of a balance and not make the Mexicans look like total bad guys and stuff. So it's a kind of a nice moment in that movie. Yeah. But I've always been drawn to Latin culture, whether it's Caribbean Latins like Puerto Ricans and stuff or Mexicans. It's good stuff.
Well, I just been a guitar player all these years, and people. We had a Spanish language show on PATV many years ago with Raimundo Rosales, and Mundo and I were all buddies. We played together in Mexican restaurants, and it was called Hola. And I don't really speak Spanish. I understand a fair amount of what's being said. If I pick out like every so many words, and I grew up with foreign languages being spoken around me, so I should learn it. I should learn Spanish, but I don't know it. But I studied Italian for a while, and French and everything. But I just sit next to him and sort of smile, and I play all the fancy guitar parts. But I would say that people from, I've known a lot of people from Mexico, and I've also, when I was working with Mundo, when we were Raimundo y Tomas, and Tomas is my stage name, you see, we go table to table in Mexican restaurants. We just go out and hustle. And we went to the ones that are owned by Mexicans, like mostly in Cedar Rapids. And we'd hustle money, and we both we're both poor and had small children, babies at home, so we... Anyway, but it's kind of an interesting thing, but then, after the place would close or whatever, and they'd throw the rest of the customers out, and they'd give us, feed us, and we'd hang around, and the people from the back kitchen would come out, and dishwashers and people who didn't speak any English, and some of them undocumented immigrants, shall we say. It was like, they're my pals, they're my coworkers. I was the lone gringo and everything in the group, but and then of course we'd had parties. We'd like a quinceañera. The daughter turned 15, and they'd have a
coming of age party,
and they'd hire us to go and sing all these old serenades that you do under the because the old days you hired musicians to sing under your girlfriend's window to try to court her, but there'd be bars in that window actually because her parents didn't want to let her out, but. You'd court her that way and try to marry her. And then, at one time, we were hired by somebody who was in Mexico, and the young woman, who was a very, very lovely young woman, but she was in a little cracker box apartment in West Liberty, and a woman from Muscatine set the whole thing up, a friend of this guy who was in Mexico. So, our job was to be at a very specific time, be underneath her window in this apartment, singing, there's these like. Despierta. I don't know the words, but these sentimental serenade songs. Wake up, my love. This and it was what the words were. It was a serenade designed for that sort of a situation. So we happen to know these because Mundo had these old Los Panchos records and things like that he learned songs off of. So we'd do these things, and then he called her from Mexico. So her phone rang at the same moment that these guys were standing outside her window, and we had these outfits. We'd wear these. Black pants and a black vest with a white shirt, long sleeve shirt, and a necktie, and then we'd have hats and I had a fedora, and he had this sort of round one with turquoise and silver, sort of little chain sort of thing around the band. It was this round. He looked like a pistolero out of an old movie, you know. And I had my fedora and everything like that. So we had this look, you know, and we serenaded her. And I guess he did pretty well for himself, this guy in Mexico, considering he couldn't be there with her. It was her birthday, or it was some maybe anniversary or something of their. And so I actually was part of that whole thing. I mean, I got to do it, you know. And as a guitar player, I think the only thing, I'm not sure exactly what I'm living for, but I think it's to have other experiences, you know, because I'm not like a theoretical guitar player. I'm living the dream, you see. So I actually did serenade a young Mexican woman underneath her window as a hired serenader, which is what they did. You know, they'd hire people for that, you know. And this is anyway. So
yeah, the Mexican musical culture is very rich, and I should also qualify. I mean, my own frame of reference as far as Mexico goes far beyond the movie The Alamo. But
sure
I'm like you. You know, I just feel comfortable around. I remember when I was down in the Rio Grande Valley in McAllen, and a couple of years back, you know, I just felt quite at home there. And it was also interesting to learn too. You know, in this debate about immigration and stuff, we're forgetting that, you know, in those parts of the United States, Mexicans contribute enormously to the economy. I remember going to a shopping mall in McAllen, and I would say half the license plates in the parking lot were people coming over from Mexico to spend money here.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, you know, the whole Rio Grande Valley economy would go south. So I think the closer you get to the Mexico, the closer, the more Americans appreciate that, you know, there's an interdependency economically, and it's a two-way street. It's not just them coming over here to work. But they also come over here and spend money. And
that's right. And we export to them quite a bit, and they're a big trading partner and everything like that. But the thing is that if you go to the Southwest, of course, the Mexicans are indigenous to the continent. I mean, they used to be their country, and it's just sort of this, you know, thing. I know there are problems with undocumented immigrants and so forth, and one thing it's not very good for the non-documented immigrants. A lot of things there's a lot of danger and so forth associated with that, But also, it's like, I mean, I don't know. Some people want to hate on the immigrants, and they also there's a sort of a kind of propaganda fear-mongering thing going on some years ago when we were more involved with Iraq, saying that terrorists could come up and you wouldn't be able to, you know, they'd come through the immigration routes through Mexico and you wouldn't be able to tell, you know, that they were, and stuff like that. And there was all this fear-mongering stuff about the Mexicans, and then there are politicians down there who are, you know, talking about all this, like, you know, people being beheaded in the deserts and so forth. And then somebody says, well, could you show us evidence of this ever happening? And it was Jan Brewer, I think, wasn't she? Is she the governor of Arizona or something?
Could very well.
Yeah, she was like fear-mongering this thing, and she was. But so I said, well, can you point us to an example of this happening? And she backpedaled a little bit. Well, it could happen, because it hasn't happened. I mean, people are. Anyway, so.
Well, you know, plus as far as immigration goes, in my own family, I don't know when my mother's side of the family came over. They kind of trickled down from Canada, so I don't know how many years they had been here in North America. But like on my grandfather's side, my grandfather came over in 1911, so I can trace that lineage. Tejanos in Texas, who were the original people who were there back when it was part of Mexico, have been there for several hundred years, you know,
yes.
generations. So who am I to say that, you know,
yeah.
You know.
Well, I don't know about this generation thing, because I know people like, I know people whose grandparents came from Italy, and, well, when did you come over? I said, well, I guess we came over, I think everybody came over before the Civil War, except, you know, I did have some ancestors who came over down from Canada at the very beginning of the 20th century, maybe the late 19th century, but they come from Ireland, and they were like, they shut off the spigot of Irish immigration, so they could go to Canada, and then they had to wait another generation, then they could, because you could immigrate in the United States as a Canadian, but not as an Irish person, so that was kind of like how it happened. So I used to think everybody came to this country before the Civil War, but actually they came, some of them came afterwards, but they had been in Canada before the Civil War. So they, you know, and so I started thinking, the border, you know, borders are kind of artificial. I mean, you have your border between Texas and Mexico, you know, and you start thinking, well, it's artificial in a way. I mean,
Yeah,
And how about
I have relatives up in. My mother's from a town called Holton, Maine. If you're familiar with Maine, it's way up near the Canadian border, near Presque Isle. And I've got relatives back up that straddle the borders. Some of them are over in Canada, French Canadians over in the Canada side, and then some of my mother's families, and they're interrelated and stuff, and they go back and forth, to visit and shop and stuff. So.
Yeah, well.
And another thing I wanted to mention too, I mentioned the Alamo, which is actually, like I say, Texas's war with Mexico, not the United States's. But in the other war, where we basically grabbed all the land north of the Rio Grande, west of Texas, our troops had actually gotten down as far as Mexico City, and the young cadets. There was the Citadel, or the Mexican, where they train officers and stuff, kind of like our West Point. The young what I understand is these were kids like in their late teens and stuff. Rather than be killed by Americans, wrapped themselves in the Mexican flag and actually very valiantly jumped off the Citadel. That was kind of their Alamo. They were overwhelmed and backed into a corner, and yet they wouldn't surrender. They behaved very nobly under the circumstances. So that's the kind of their Alamo. So
I didn't know about that. I know we got down pretty far, and I personally am not in favor of war and everything. I think there was a movie a few years ago, though, where they were fear-mongering at Canada. It was a comedy about Canada or something, invading or something. They were trying to stoke war fears with Canada. And I think people aren't really afraid of Canada that much.
Have you ever seen the movie, I think it's Peter Sellers' The Mouse That Roared?
I don't think I saw the movie. I read the book when I was a kid.
All right, which is probably better. Although Peter Sellers.
Well, it was Andorra or some of these little postage stamp countries.
And they decided to go to war with the United States so they can get American aid afterwards, or some crazy plan like that.
There was a cartoon that was like Fritz the Cat sort of thing or something. It was or the Crows or something. It was like done with animals, but it was about African Americans, and so they got the plan to attack the U.S. because whenever everybody attacked the U.S., they'd end up getting foreign aid, and they wanted aid, so they attacked the U.S. and then the U.S. surrendered. And they didn't know what to do, and it was like this. It was a cartoon. It was a very adult, or should we say grown-up cartoon?
Fritz the Cat.
But it was like one of those, and they were the Crows, where the black African Americans were the Crows, and they wanted to, so they get more aid, they would attack the U.S. and they won, which is the same Mouse That Roared story. I don't know. I'm not at all in favor of. It's a problem with wars. We're actually celebrating the 10th anniversary of our invasion of Iraq, and I heard a little news piece on the radio when I was driving home from my job there, and they're talking about how for a lot of people the things are getting worse. The sectarian thing is violence is on the upswing in Iraq again after 10 years and everything like that. And there was a resettlement sort of campaign that was launched but it's set to expire. And it was way underfunded and way big backlog of trying to process Iraqis to bring them over here because those who collaborated with Americans, are targeted for assassination. There have been a lot of assassinations, and I just like, I also saw some video clip that I didn't click on my computer, but some politician or somebody saying that it was a noble war and so forth. But I think the thing is, a whole lot of people got killed and maimed, and
so at least 100,000 Iraqis.
Yeah, well, that's the extreme low estimate.
Low estimate,
and that doesn't count, people dying because we blew up their sewage disposal plant, and so they got typhoid or whatever,
or the psychological problems that are floating around on all sides, and
then people with grievous injuries that won't live nearly as long as they would have, and so forth. But they're
limbless,
and then also that 100,000 doesn't necessarily count the number of people who were in a sectarian sort of situation, because Saddam Hussein, for whatever was said about him, he was a strict Stalinist. But as long as you left him alone, you could be a Christian, and for instance, and nobody would bother you, or you could, you Shiite, Sunni, people might look at you funny when you're walking down the street, but they weren't going to kill you. And so when that control was loosened, all this stuff happened. Now, some would say that they should never have, partitioned Iraq the way it was, because there's the British Empire or whatever, the British and the Ottomans or whatever, World War I era. That partitioned it, in the way it turned into what it was, and that it should have been like different countries or something.
Yeah, not so, well. Was it partitioned or cobbled together?
Cobbled together, so I guess what I'm saying. Yeah. But well, you have Kurdistan, so you say, well, these are the Kurds. They want to hang out together, but that's part of Turkey, and the Turks don't want to let that go. And then in northern Iraq, they don't want to let that go. And then you have these people, the Shiite over here. They're more like the Persians, But not all the Persians are the same. They're like there could be a couple countries there. And over here you got the Sunnis, and they're more like Saudis and Syrians and people like that. So they're like, and these people who and there are people like me who are kind of German, Irish, and Welsh, and French, and English, and one parent was a Catholic, the other was a Methodist, and
that's.
And you start thinking, well,
if that was a chemical thing, you wouldn't be allowed to do that in the chemistry
lab. Would blow up, yeah. But so I don't have like and like I'm from I can't really go back to another country, because I can't go back to Germany because we've been gone for 170 years and marrying Irish people and so forth, and English people or whatever. So not a purebred of anything. Or I certainly can't go back to Ireland because I'm probably not much more than a quarter Irish as far as I know. France, just a little bit of French. I can't really go back to another. There's no going home for me. And I wasn't even born in Iowa. I didn't move to Iowa until I was 6 months old. So, I mean, they wouldn't recognize me back in Montana because I was only there for a little while. So,
is that where you were born?
Yeah.
You were born in the state of Montana?
Missoula, Montana. It's a college town.
Oh, okay. Yep. Missoula, yeah. So maybe in terms of warfare, then maybe the women of the Greek play Lysistrata had it right. Maybe that's the solution. My son is taking an anthropology class at university. And they were talking about that there's this thing people say that if women were in charge of things, there would be no wars. And they say, but if you look back at the Iroquois or something like the Indians, they had a matriarchy where the women made the decisions. They sent the men out to do their things, but they were more warlike than anybody in that area. The women would send the men out. The older women would send the men out for conquest and stuff. They were the most violent, warlike tribe in that area. And then there are other examples like that. So you can't say that's not the solution. And then Margaret Thatcher, of course, blew that whole Falkland
thing.
Islands.
Yeah, Falkland Islands thing. And then she won a re-election because she was the Iron Lady.
Yeah.
As Prime Minister.
I think your role in society has more impact on your behavior than your gender. This is somebody who's worked in nursing since 1985 and seen a lot of nursing managers, female, there's really not a whole lot of difference the way they behave and male bosses do. It's the role. You rise to whatever role you're in. So and that comes with certain behaviors, and usually that trumps. Because look at the woman that just took over Yahoo as CEO. Mm-hmm. She's very proud of the fact that she's a working mother and everything. And one of the first things she did though was get rid of working at home. There were all these mothers that wanted to work from home so they could raise their kids. And one of the first moves she made was for the benefit of the company was to get rid of that. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of working mothers that were upset about that. And of course, she did. In fairness, I guess she did institute daycare at the place, but still, I think there were a lot of women that were quite upset with that decision.
Sure.
So, but she did it for the interest of the company.
Well, probably I guess it works better. It was a decision to make it work better. We'll see how well she does with it. But I mean, we're hoping that she does. I've heard also that a lot of feminists are angry with her because she said that you have to keep the pedal to the metal and everything like that. She's successful, but not, but by. And people say, well, you're just being like a man. And I say, well, no, I'm just doing the job. Just like doing the job doesn't like care if you're a man or a woman or a feminist or a Presbyterian or something like that. You have to get the work done well, or else it's not going to happen because it's very competitive and very hard to do. And so So that's the. I mean the advice. I was also reading advice for women who want to excel in their careers. Is they say have your kids really early. You know, have them like right out of college, and then and then you know when they're in school and you're 30 something, then hit it hard in the career thing because. And the other thing I heard somebody else say is if you really want to do this, compete in this world, you have two choices. Either you don't get a real good child care situation, like have a husband who's a house husband, or your mother or something, or some combination, or else don't have any children. And a lot of people don't want to have any children, in which case the women do fine. But the problem is if it's a mother and you want to be a mother to your kid, it's a very divided sort of loyalty.
It is, yeah.
I spent a lot of time with my son when he was little, and my career.
Yeah, you speak basically from experience.
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time.
Single father for many years.
Yeah, well, I wasn't exactly single, but I spent the lion's share of the care for his early years. I was responsible for. I had that little baby everywhere I went, and his needs were many, and I went to meetings and stuff, and I'd take him along. I did meetings. We're doing a concert, a music series at the Art Museum, and so I went into a room with a big long table, and I sat there to put my 2 cents in because I was going to be one of the performers, and I was going to design a thing, And I had this baby, and he fell asleep, while he was there and stuff like that. The Friday night concert series downtown, the Downtown Merchants Association started the Friday night concerts. I was the first one to play at it, and I had to have a meeting with these like suit salesmen and so forth. I had that little boy on those backpack carriers, sleeping and looking around like, who are these guys, And I took him with me, but I mean that was how it was done, but I surely didn't. I did, had to work, but I just didn't. My career, I was pretty busy working, but for a few years there, I didn't do much working. I didn't do much sleeping. It was a completely different thing.
Well, Abrams seemed to have slept a lot, though.
Yeah, he slept a lot. Well,
we ought to have him on the show. It's been a while because he plays.
He hadn't played bass for a while. He's pretty busy fellow.
We kind of watched him grow up on the show here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 18 and he has a car and he's very serious about math and science and
he's looking at college in the fall.
Oh yeah, he's going to go to college someplace. We don't know where.
So we ought to get him on before he goes off to college. Then.
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't played bass in a long time.
Just to come and visit, Yeah,
if he can get him, he has an anthropology. It's not tonight because he's. But tomorrow he's going to the robotics championship in Milwaukee. And that anthropology class he takes at the university is on Tuesday nights. So the thing is, if you're still in high school and they don't offer a class you want to take in college, in the high schools, they pay for it.
That's nice, yeah.
So he's...
and he's availing himself of that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't have to pay for it. Sorry. I'm obsessed by this... So I like the Stratocaster. I got a gig coming up on Sunday. Some of my fellow faculty members at the Coe College up there in Cedar Rapids. We're going to play a parlor concert is the idea. And the thing is, I think the seating is restricted to 22 guests to watch it. So it's a very small thing. And what I'm going to do, though, is I've been wanting to do this for a while. You've probably seen Joy Walker, who been on my show a bunch of times, plays string bass and the accordion. And she's, she's new to the bass, fairly new to the bass. She's been playing music for a long time. In fact, she's a music therapist. And I think she probably, been playing a long time, various things, piano and guitar and stuff. But I've been giving her some stuff to do some like Beatles songs and stuff to play with a bow, because I have a book of I have the real book in bass clef. So what I did was some of the stuff I've been working on with her, but I'm going to give it to the one guy who responded to my emails about, let's say, I got this, we could do this or this. The guy who responded was a string bass teacher up there, who I've met him a couple times. I've never heard him play, but apparently he knows what he's doing with the string bass, and I'm familiar with the string bass. I play it. I'm not I'm no virtuoso on it. But anyway, he's gonna play bass. I'm gonna play guitar. We're gonna do a couple of bossa novas, which I thought would be kind of fun, and I think maybe Black Orpheus and The Girl from Ipanema, or that Insensitive, the one How Insensitive one, which is actually based on a Chopin piano piece, but it's a bossa nova. And so I put those in his little box there at his cubby hole at the office at Coe, and so I'm going to play that with him, and then I'm supposed to play chords on Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, which is an interesting concept because I've never actually played it. So I decided to listen to it, and the stuff I listen to, like on YouTube, are really wild jazz players who are just taking it and running. I don't know where the tune is in there. It'll be interesting. But anyway, I'm playing this concert on Sunday, and I'm not sure what to take for a guitar. Part of me wants to take a classical guitar so people will think I'm uptown and educated. But I kind of like, I don't know, I like other guitars too. I mean, there's a lot more to, there's a lot more to guitar than classical guitar. You probably wouldn't have heard me say that a long time ago, but I've grown and evolved, and it happens to people, The Fender Stratocaster was invented in 1954. So I think it's pretty well established now. I'm afraid to, if I go into some place with a Stratocaster, people will say, "Ew, look, he's a hippie." So anyway.
So next year would be the 50th anniversary then.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do a show on that.
60th.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
That's my own personal suppression of awareness of things.
What are you about as old as it? Stratocaster is somewhere close?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I'm not far behind, but anyway, I guess so. Well, the show's...
Oh,
yeah, it's okay.
We'll talk about the number of viola players at West High next week.
Oh, no. Well, I'll be back next week anyway. Oh, I think we're upstairs next week. Isn't that the last Tuesday? Is it? Yeah. We're going to be up next stairs, so stop by. We'll be up Uptown Bill's Coffee House next week, 6 o'clock, Tuesday. We'll be doing something anyway.